Hello, today is... I don't know what today is. It's tomorrow.
April 10th.
April 10th. There we go. Today is April 10th, and you are listening to I Think You Think, a podcast that puts a new spin on debate and discussion, but we can't remember the dates. I'm Justin, and on the other side of my computer screen is James.
Howdy, folks.
And we are your hosts and carry no credentials worth noting. I Think You Think is a podcast that focuses on what we, your hosts, think, but also what you think. Too many times we spend debates and discussions talking past one another, and not enough time trying to learn and understand why someone thinks what they think. This is what makes I Think You Think different, because we are focused on why people think the way that they do, and why we think the way that we do. James and I believe that the forum of ideas should be open to everyone, and everyone should have the opportunity to challenge and be challenged by ideas. We are not here to pass judgment, but merely discuss ideas and topics. This podcast, first and foremost, is a conversation between us and hopefully you. Feel free to email us, follow us on Facebook for future podcasts, and follow us on Tumblr for links relevant to the podcasts. The links for each of these can be found in the underbar of the video. I Think You Think is produced by StolenArts Productions and is recorded live at Fisher International Studios. But we don't really have like a debate topic this week. We're actually going to review a couple of games that just recently came out. I've got I recently picked up Gears of War Judgment, and James, you got, which one did you get?
Bioshock Infinite.
Nice.
I win, I think, honestly.
I would agree. I definitely would agree with you. I have not played Bioshock Infinite yet. But I'm looking forward to hearing from you. I have read some amazing things online, so I can't wait to hear from you. But we're going to start with Gears of War Judgment. Not for any particular reason, but that was just the way the coin flip landed. So a little bit about Gears of War Judgment. This is taken right from the Wikipedia because I don't want to, make it seem like this is anything I wrote. It's a third-person shooter that Epic Games and People Can Fly developed. It's the fourth entry in the Gears of War series. So there was Gears of War, Gears of War 2, Gears of War 3, and Gears of War Judgment. This is a follow-up that Microsoft Studios actually made the first three, if I remember correctly. This one is actually made by Epic and People Can Fly. It was released only for the Xbox 360, as were the rest of the Gears of War games, and so only those with an Xbox 360 would have the advantage of being able to play this game. So I am a pretty big Gears of War fan. I played through the first one and never beat it, actually. No particular reason. I made it to the last boss and just put it down and never picked it back up. I still own it, so I could at some point actually do that, but I have not. The second and third one, I believe the second one I did buy used, which was pretty typical for me, but the third one I bought new. Smack dab, as expensive as they get. I paid the $59.99 for it and played through that one and was very, very in love with the third one. I liked it. The story got kind of weird, and I'm not going to go into too many other things, just in case there might be some people out there who are interested in playing the, I guess, quadrilogy now, who don't know some of the story. But I didn't feel as attached to the story in the third one as I did in the second one. But we're not talking about those. We're talking about Judgment, Gears of War Judgment. My initial experience with it, I picked it up, I started playing it, and my first thought was, it's a good game. It reminds me of the second and the third one and the first one. It's still got that real Gears of War kind of epic glory and warfare kind of game. It's very rough and tumble and everything that made all of the previous Gears of War games great was carried over very well into Judgment. They did do a couple of changes. They kind of streamlined the weapon change system. It isn't quite as complicated as it was with the first three. Took a little bit of getting used to, and there are some drawbacks to it, but it does make it, for all intents and purposes, a more streamlined game. However, my first kind of feeling about it was it feels like downloadable content more than it feels like another game. Yeah, which is really kind of disappointing when I dropped $60 on it.
Right.
Yeah, so I've played a little bit with my brother. My brother and I play a lot online. We played Gears of War started in the second Gears of War. They added what's called Horde mode, and other kind of genres have taken advantage of this idea. And they really came out about the same time as, I think it was, Call of Duty had the Nazi zombies. If I remember correctly, where you kind of fight off waves after waves. And this is about the same time that Gears of War 2 also did the Horde mode, where you fight off waves of enemies. So they took that idea where you have some sort of objective that isn't specific just to Horde mode. In the third installment, Gears of War 3, they added some additional things. You can build up your defenses. It costs money to do that. You make the money by killing the enemies and completing waves. And so what they then did in Gears of War Judgment is there's still a story there, and the story is kind of it's around four different people talking from their perspective, what happened during the war, the war with the locusts that takes place prior to or right before the first Gears of War game. And in this game, at the beginning, because they're going before a military tribunal, that they're all probably up for the death penalty for having done something really bad, and you're kind of playing through these four characters' stories to kind of figure out what's going on. But really, that's the kind of overarching story about what's going on. But it's really kind of like, okay, here's the area you're in. Here's what you have to do, and then every single time you accomplish it, as opposed to saying, okay, you beat it, here's your cutscene, and then you go on to the next section. They have like a screen that pops up that tells you how many ribbons you got, how many points you got, how many kills you got, all of those type of things. And so it feels very
like video gamey. Not like, although it's weird, but I think I know what you're saying. Like old video games.
Yeah,
you beat a level on Mario and you have that kind of weird end, as opposed to the storyline games that we're more used to, where it just flows and you're just going.
Yeah, it seems very disjuncted, and that's not the word I'm trying to get. Disjointed, yes. And so it doesn't feel like a smooth game. The transitions, even though the story goes one right after another, because they threw that in there, it makes me feel like I'm just playing these online horde missions. And so to me, that feels very downloadable content. My brother, though, he loves that aspect. That was one of his most favorite aspects of Gears of War 2 and 3 was the online stuff, the horde modes, things like that, which I liked. But for me, I really like the story. I like playing through stories. One of my most favorite games ever is the Mass Effect series, because I love the story. I think it's got a great story. I like role-playing games too, and I like building my character up, but I love that story. And that was one of the reasons I loved the Gears of War 2 so much more of all of the Gears of War, because I liked the story that was there more. So I guess if I was going to kind of encapsulate the whole thing, it feels to me like it is downloadable content. It's still a good game. It still's got a lot of the Gears of War umph that Gears of War really carries. It's got great graphics still. Obviously, I mean, it's still on next gen console. Everything looks good. I like some of the little changes that they did to streamline the game. I enjoy the fact that when you achieve certain ribbons and things like that, and you unlock these boxes, you get new skins for your characters and new outfits and things like that. I'm really nerdy about that kind of stuff. I think that stuff's cool. Because I feel like I did something, and I'm like,
Right, right,
I've got this headband that says that I sniped somebody from over 200 yards away or whatever.
right, right.
That didn't happen in the game, so nobody go out looking for that headband. But, but
Like I
that's
played for 143 hours, Justin. Where is it?
Where is it? Where did you find it? Um, but I mean that's pretty much it. I will continue to play it. I have not actually beaten it yet. They changed Horde mode from what I can see, only because it looks like they changed the name of it, but it's probably very similar. Just because Horde mode has been a wonderful addition to the game, and most other games are doing something like that. The things that I like about how they changed it reminds me of Halo 4 with the Spartan Ops missions.
Another series you're a huge fan of.
Yes, the Halo series is another one I'm a huge fan of. The Gears of War Judgment reminds me of the Halo 4 Spartan Ops, in the sense that you have a little mission your character goes into, you defeat the mission, you get your ribbons, and then you get to go to the next mission. And that's what happens really in Gears of War Judgment. The story doesn't seem to flow as nicely as in the previous renditions of Gears of War. But all in all, it's still a fun game to play. It's still entertaining. I'm sure I'll probably still get 60 hours worth of gameplay out of it. And so that really makes a good, $1 for an hour's worth of entertainment. We've talked about this before. Is a good ratio.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
and so what I would probably say is, do you need to buy it at $59.99? Probably not. You guys can wait on it. That's my personal opinion. I would either wait until it's come down in price, less than 50, probably $40 is probably a good amount to pay for it if you need it sooner rather than later. If you can wait longer, then wait longer. If you can find a great deal on it for like $30, I would probably jump at it. It's probably easily worth $30.
But you said that your brother, who likes the online play, really likes the game. Like he would probably say full price, totally worth it. Go buy it right now. Why haven't you?
Yeah, I would probably say that if you like the Horde mode, if you like the online content that the previous Gears of Wars had, I would say then it's probably worth the 50. It's probably worth $50 or $60. It's probably worth going out and getting. And I'm sure you'll get the 50 or 60 hours worth of gameplay, if not more, out of it.
Right. And I mean, that is a huge aspect for a lot of gamers. When you're talking about like the Battlefields and the Call of Duties, it is mostly about the online play. Because I know the Call of Duty games have a story mode, but it's usually minimal hours, very short. I would assume, and I'm not a fan of those games in general. I'm not sure why, just not really my thing. But I would assume that if you bought it just for the story mode, you'd be very disappointed paying $60 for a Call of Duty game. So given that there are a lot of people out there that do buy them to play online, so for those people, this game might be, have that extra $10, $20 value above, where your marker is, the $40. And I feel the same. Like, I think that's a good indicator of a game. The $10 mark. Would I pay $60 for it, 10, or somewhere in between? Where is that marker? And there are certain games when they come out, like Dungeon Siege 3. I wanted it because I like that kind of game, but it got really bad reviews because it's just it's like, a high res gauntlet, for all intents and purposes. You run around and you kill things and you collect treasure. And you run around and you kill things and you collect treasure. So it didn't get good ratings because there wasn't a lot of true content, I guess. So for me, it was a $20 game. but I kept looking for it because I wanted it, but I wasn't going to pay 30, 40, $50 for it. $20. I ended up finding it for like $18 with shipping. I probably paid a little over 20. But yeah, I mean, for you, $40 game. For me, given that it's not like in my wheelhouse of what I really enjoy to play, I would probably put it at a $20 game. And then your brother puts it at a $60 game. So, or we would presume that he'd put it at a $60 game. You said the graphics are good, right?
Yeah, I mean, all the Gears of War games have had good graphics.
Yeah.
And the thing nowadays is the average game normally has relatively good graphics with the next generation consoles.
Yeah.
There's still the same kind of problem that's plagued all of the next gens, which I understand why they do it, where you have a lot of the textures and things don't immediately show up. They tend to fade in. It's better than when they used to just pop in. It's less
Yeah.
noticeable when they just fade in. But that's, honestly, I don't have a problem with that, only because I recognize that one of the biggest reasons they do that is to keep the processing speed for the system in a manageable amount, so that you don't have to sit through as many loading screens and that you get back into the game as quickly as possible.
Right, right. And I think that's a little bit more on the 360 than the PlayStation 3, from my experience.
That could be true. I don't own a PlayStation 3, but I do know that with its built-in Blu-ray, and the games are all on Blu-ray too, right?
I'm really not sure. I would assume so. I think so, but I'm not positive about that. I'm always looking at the top of them. I never really look at the bottom of them. But that sounds right. I think that is correct. But and like I would say it is like owning them both. It is a noticeable difference, but not like a huge difference. Like it's noticeable because I've read about it online and kind of paying attention a little bit. I don't know if I would have caught it otherwise.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
It's
but I'm
not
not.
it's not as big a difference as something like standard def and high def.
Yeah, or no, definitely not that. Or even the difference between like either of these systems and like a Wii.
Yeah.
Because the Wii is definitely a step down. I mean, they don't put the games on there, but I mean, it's a huge step down.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different kind of system, and it's almost not even comparable. Like it's considered part of the same gen, but it's not playing the same game. You know
No,
what I
no.
mean?
It's aimed to be a different type of console.
So graphics are good. Storyline's a little broken up, but you said that they kind of streamlined the gameplay a little bit, like switching weapons and things like that, so they've
Yeah,
improved some of the UI.
in the original first three Gears of War, the way you switched between weapons is you had two primary weapons, a sidearm, and your grenades. And the way you switch between them is your two primary weapons were the left and right on your directional pad.
Okay.
Okay, and the sidearm was the bottom on the directional pad, and your grenades were up.
Okay,
So
that all works. I've played games that are similar.
yeah, not terribly difficult. However, when you're used to playing some first-person shooters where you just hit a button to throw a grenade, you
Yeah,
hit a
usually
single
like the
yeah
yeah, okay, yeah.
yeah you hit a single button to switch weapons. You don't have to keep in mind, oh, is my Lancer on the left or the right, or is my shotgun on the left or the right, and end up hitting buttons when what you really need to be doing is switching weapons so you don't get killed.
Yeah.
That it can become kind of tiresome. It also, the directional pad's not easy to move your thumb to. I mean, we're talking, split seconds here, not a huge amount. But when you do take your finger off that left analog stick, that left analog stick is your forward, backward, strafe, left, and right, and that means you're not moving. That means all you're doing is aiming,
Right.
which could be a problem. Whereas if by what they've done is they've gotten rid of the sidearm and they've just got the two slots for the weapons. Now, the sidearms that they had, you can carry them as one of your weapons, but it's not a sidearm anymore. It's now one of your weapons.
So now basically I only have two weapons and grenades as opposed to three weapons and grenades.
Correct. Now, you switching between the weapons is just you hit the Y button,
Okay.
which is easier. Now you can continue to move. All you're really not doing is aiming, which is fine when you're talking about switching weapons. Most of the time, if you're switching weapons, you're probably either backing away from a fight or moving into a fight, but typically you're going to switch weapons before you charge.
Right.
So it's mostly the, oh my god, my Lancer's out, I'm going to or these guys are charging in, I'm switching over to my shotgun.
So how challenging would you say the game is? Are the bad guys overpowered, underpowered, or do you feel like it's a good little it's a
Well,
good level?
when I've been playing it on the normal mode, and not because I don't think I'm good enough to play it on the harder ones. I've played a lot of Gears of War, so I feel confident enough to play it on the harder difficulties. But because I was trying to get through it quickly, and playing on normal allows me to stay out of cover, allows me to kind of charge in and kill people very quickly. It also makes it easier to get ribbons for, hacking people up. For those who don't know, Gears of War, one of the big weapons is the Lancer, and it has a chainsaw attached to it. So as opposed to having a bayonet where you would stab somebody, you have this chainsaw that you cut people in half with. So there are ribbons awarded for cutting, a lot of people in half in a row and things like that.
Yeah, so I'm guessing this is rated M for mature.
It is indeed rated M for mature. However, it does, and they've had this ever since the first Gears of War. It has the ability to turn off the blood and the gore and things like that, so that when you're slicing them in half with your chainsaw, the blood isn't splattering all over the screen and chunks are flying all off of them. There is no blood. You're still chainsawing through them, but there's not blood flying everywhere, so it's not quite as bad. And then they also censor out the curse words.
Okay. I'd be interested to know games that have that option. I wonder what percentage actually turns that stuff off.
Well, I do know my brother, he's got a son who's about the same age as mine. Basically, I mean, they're within months of each other. And he would allow them to play it, but only with that turned off, mostly because of the language.
And that makes sense. And that's, in my opinion, just good parenting. You're paying attention to little details.
Because honestly, the language is the thing that kids will repeat. As a father of, sorry, I was listening. It sounded like my daughter was crying. As a father of a child who's played video games since he was 3 years old, he played Halo at 3, he recognizes very well the difference between video game world and fantasy and the real world. And so I'm not terribly concerned about a lot of the stuff that he may see on games like that. And if he's concerned about it, if it's bothering him, he'll talk to me about it. It's really a lot of the times the language, just because I don't want him to repeat it and then have to explain to people why he may or may not be repeating things.
Right. Yeah.
But I used to actually, for Gears of War 2, because it was a bigger problem to me in Gears of War 2 and 3, I used to turn it off, the blood and gore, only because when I was chainsawing people, when the blood would get all over the screen, I couldn't see what else was going on. And so I would turn it off as more of a tactical thing so that I could continue to see what was going on while I was chainsawing people. I'm more than happy to turn off things that become issues in the game, even when they're intended to just add to the immersement in games. There are lots of games at the beginning where they have dark screens and you're supposed to set the settings so that you can't see things.
Right.
So that makes it harder to see things. And a lot of times I don't like playing games like that. I want to be able to see things. And so I will actually set it a little higher, because the immersement in the game is not as important to me as the being able to play the game.
Right. Well, I think with any game, the bottom line is being able to play it and have fun, however that is. Some people do it by, cheat codes, if they have such things. I know they still do for like Grand Theft Auto and stuff like that, but a lot of games don't anymore. Or setting the difficulty ungodly high or super, super low, or whatever it is. I mean, you pay the money, tweak the game however you want.
Yep. And that's why I used to give people a hard time for playing games on easy and not playing it any difficult, but you play the game that you want to play.
Oh yeah, I mean, depending on the game, there's some games that I set to easy. Most I play on normal. Games that I'm really, a series that I'm used to, like a Left 4 Dead. Sometimes I'll ratchet that up above normal, um, just because I like, because I play it enough that every now and again I'm like, okay, let's see what I can do on this level. You know what I mean? Like trying to going about it, knowing it's going to be difficult, because Left 4 Dead is replaying the same levels over and over again, basically.
Hmm.
But I got no problem. I pay $60 for a game. I'll set it on 4-year-old level if that's what's going to be most fun for me. I don't care. Judge me, don't judge me. Whatever. I don't care. Like, I paid the money. I'm going to play the game however I want.
Yep, I agree. I think that we've got to be coming up near a half hour. I wasn't expecting it to actually go for a half hour. But I'll get back to you guys on more of the game as I actually get to play a little bit more of it. Um, yeah, it's all in all pretty good game, as we said. So we are going to end the first part here, and we'll pick up with the second part in a couple of days. And then James will tell you all about Bioshock Infinite.
Oh, was I supposed to play that?
I think so. Well, I got a couple of days now.
Okay. I'm going to jump on that right now.
All right. We'll see you guys.